Well, here is part 2 of how things fit together in my English Tudor house. We came in from that front door yesterday, or at least that's where, not yesterday, but a couple of days ago, and that's where our tour began. And then a lot of you asked about this area, which is the small hallway that goes upstairs. So what you would see immediately upon walking through the front door is this dried flower arrangement of Terra hydrangeas from Southern Living Plants. And then Stuart, if you don't mind just rotating a little bit to your right, this is a leaded glass cabinet that was original to the house. It kind of matches the one that's in the morning room, and it's where we keep our stereo equipment and things like that. And there's storage in here, and it's a built-in, and again, all of this was here when we bought the house originally. And then this goes upstairs, and there's a little landing here, and this is an arrowhead collection that was put together, assembled by my husband and his grandfather. And as I said earlier, he is kind of an anthropologist and archaeologist at heart, and so that's really special to them. So this is how we get upstairs, so let's go. Well, if some of you were wondering if when my boys were little, they poked their little heads through those rails to look into the living room to see if Santa had arrived or not, yes, they did. And I have many pictures of them at the bottom of the stairs when they were littles, looking for their treats and their gifts and their stockings, and those pictures are some of the ones that are most precious to me. So there's a small landing at the top of the stairs. It's a little gallery wall of family pictures. Sometimes I think when somebody says, oh, I'm part of a large family or whatever, that's kind of an abstract thing. So just so you'll know, I really am part of a large family. And when I allude to different family members, this is an older picture, but one that we took when my folks were still alive in our Indiana home. And as a matter of fact, this morning, I talked with my oldest sister, Beth. She lives in South Korea, and we Zoomed this morning. So yes, I do stay close to most of my family members. Well, actually all of them. And we may be a large family, but nevertheless, we do remain in touch real regularly. And then this I do want to show you because it's something that I'm thinking about getting back into. There was a period of time when I was in my 20s that I did lots of needlepoint, and I haven't done a lot of needlepoint recently, but this is a canvas that was gifted to me by a friend of mine, and it is a rendition of my first home that I bought when I was still single. It looked to me like a mini Monticello, and she converted that to needlepoint canvas, and I needlepointed it, and it is one of my precious things that I would probably save in the event of a fire. So that's where I lived when I met my husband. So when you come up the stairs, there is just kind of a long, narrow hallway. And then you guys have seen my bedroom before. Once you get upstairs, the woodwork is painted, and it was painted when we bought the house. So we just continued with that. Again, if I'm being redundant, because some of you have heard this before, I apologize, but we have lots of new subscribers. So we built in these bookcases. They were not original to the house. And when we first bought this house and moved in, this was not our bedroom. This was a TV room, kind of a family room, and our bedroom was what is now my office. But I have always wanted to have a library bedroom, and I saw a picture in a Southern Living magazine of just this type of bedroom in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I fell in love with it. And I already had the built-in bookcases, so this just turned out to be just a wonderful solution for us. There's a dormer closet over here that is the window that you see that's just at the apex underneath the gable of my front door. And it's just kind of a nice little closet where we can put the less attractive things of life. We have to sleep with a fan on, and there's my question of the day. Do any of you have to sleep with a fan on at night? Do you need to have some, okay, Stuart's pointing to himself. You have to have some kind of white noise.
The air too.
in the air too. I think it's a lot of men need to have that, or maybe I'm being sexist there, but I just know that a lot of people like to sleep with a fan on. They find it soothing and wonderful white noise. So that's my question of the day. It's kind of an odd one. Do you guys like to sleep with a fan on? And if not, do you have some other kind of white noise that you like to listen to at night that comforts you and helps you fall into dreamland? So so let me think. I've showed you this before. It's a faux fireplace. The painting over the mantle is of Canyon de Chelly, and I apologize, I'm not sure who the painter is. My husband could tell you. This is one that he had, or we got shortly after we got married, but we love the Southwest, and this is a Southwest painting, and I love it. And practically everything, well, with the exception of that one picture frame, all of these other things on my mantle were thrifted. They came from Goodwill. So I love them. And let's see. Okay, not that you guys care, but there is a picture of me. My husband and I, we honeymooned for 3 weeks in Tanzania. And there I am standing on the banks of the Rufiji River, I believe, or it might have been the Indian Ocean. Yeah, very tan with I didn't get nearly enough sunscreen on. So, and that's my husband's family. My husband's dad and his older brother Johnny and his grandfather. Oh, and lest you think that you doubt my veracity, here is a picture. This was obviously before digital photos or anything, but this is a picture of an elephant charging us in the wild, and then a bunch of wildebeest that were coming down the savannah in Tanzania. It was in the Selous Game Reserve. And here is Hubs, my Hubs Clark Gable at the time. He looked just like Clark Gable, I thought. So there you go. So this is our bedroom, and it goes into the office. I may have mentioned it to you before, but this is a wonderful way to reuse, recycle, repurpose. And I had this bench made out of an Oriental rug that my husband got me for one Mother's Day. And when he bought it at a local antique store. It had great big holes in it that we were able to very strategically hide underneath the furniture. But when I wanted to put sisal rugs downstairs a long time ago, I made this bench. And again, it's one of those things that's just really a pride of mine, a joy of mine. Behind you, Stuart, these prints I got at Mockingbird Manor. Many years ago. You guys have, Stuart, let's put a link to shopping at Mockingbird Manor. I got those many years ago, and I just love them, and I love the color palette, and I like mixing the things that are a little bit more contemporary with things that are old. One of my my kind of new obsessions, you guys, Stuart, if you don't mind panning the bookshelves, I love baskets. I have a basket obsession, and I love them really in any shape or form. And recently I've become kind of obsessed with these flat woven baskets. They're made in Vietnam, and actually I got these off of Amazon, but they are made in Vietnam. They come with a card that talks about the story of them, and they have slightly different patterns, but I love their kind of graphic sensibility. I love the black and light colored contrast that they provide to the bookshelves, and they're relatively inexpensive, and I think it's a nice way to get that kind of the kind of punch that I want for my bedroom, which is kind of a maybe British colonial kind of look, but that speaks to parts of the world that my husband and I have visited. So obviously things that speak to our kind of international travel that are important to me. I also have a number of things from India because my son lived in India for quite a long time. So there you go. That is this part of the room. You guys might recall, if you go back and look at a previous video, the long sofa couch, wicker sofa, sofa table that is now in my living room, that used to be up here. And we moved it downstairs, and when we moved it downstairs, I relocated some furniture that I already had over here. And I love these little antique chairs because they're good, and when I need additional seating at my dining room table, they're lightweight and I can take them downstairs. And then if you kind of look through there, Stuart, you can see that that is the top of the stairs. And then you guys have seen my office. This painting this means a lot to me. And my husband got it for me one year for Mother's Day. And let me think if I can get this story right. This is a painting of a woman that I believe was Alexander Calder's mistress. Alexander Calder, if you remember back to the 60s and your art history class, he had those fabulous mobiles and things like that were very popular and very reminiscent of the 60s. Alexander Calder, and this was his mistress, and I really don't know who painted it. But that was the story that my husband was told when he bought it for me. And he bought it for me as, again, a Mother's Day gift because he knew that I would see the resemblance between this person and my first mother. And he got that for me. So that is very, very precious to me, and one of those things that in the event of a fire, I would grab and take with me. We do have a TV in our bedroom, but I have to say it doesn't get used very much. We're not big TV watchers, but I do like to have it there in the event and actually sometimes when my kids come and stay when we're not here, they'll take over the master suite. The other thing is, when my mother-in-law was still alive and she used to come visit us, she would have the master suite, and she always had to have a TV in her room. So that's another reason that we had a TV in the bedroom. So at any rate, there it is. And Stuart, why don't you show the pretty view from my front yard now, and you can kind of see the contours of the bed lines of the flower beds in front and see how it kind of fits together from a bird's eye view. Stuart's so good, you guys. You know that expression that Ginger Rogers did everything Fred Astaire could do, only backwards and in heels? Stuart does everything I can do, only backwards and in tennis shoes. Isn't that right, Stuart?
Correct.
Okay, now, Stuart, a lot of people have asked, I know you don't want to be seen, so that I respect that. Hubs doesn't want to be seen on camera either, but a lot of people have asked if I would interview you. So that's entirely up to you. What do you think?
We could possibly do that.
Possibly do some of that. For those of you, if you're new to this channel, Stuart is my photographer, my business partner, and my good buddy, and we've known each other for years, but he is not my husband. So again, you guys, I apologize if you've seen this before, but this is my bedroom. We did put in the bookcases when we bought the house and the storage below it, and this is where lots of my topiary live, especially in the wintertime because it gets great southern sun. And most of my collection of gardening books is up here, and I do refer to them quite frequently. And a lot of just the prints and things I have in here are of just images from my garden books, or images that have illustrations that have meaning to me. This is a picture of my first mom, and this is a picture of my dad. So I have those, and a lot of you have asked me about what's my secret to growing orchids, and my secret to growing orchids is that I just buy them when they're fresh and they look beautiful, and I water them about once a week, and I give them bright indirect light. And I've had these, gosh, Stuart, how long have I had these now? maybe almost 2 months.
It was a while the last time you asked me that question. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to say almost 2 months, but they look beautiful. And in the morning, I sometimes light these candles, and I do my meditation in bed or in one of these chairs here, and the orchids just look beautiful. So I've had them for a long time, so they're a great investment and a lot longer lasting than if I had cut flowers. Once they quit blooming, this is one of those things that is just a very personal thing based on how you garden, both outside and inside. I don't have a greenhouse, and I don't really have room to babysit a lot of plants once they get out of bloom, to babysit them and nurture them and raise them so that they will bloom again. So typically what I do once they finish blooming, I do two things. If the foliage still looks really, really wonderful, this is a great tip, you guys. I will sometimes cut off the spent bloom, and then I have a couple of silk orchids that look so realistic. And then I will just take one of those faux silk orchids and I will put it in place. And you really kind of can't tell. So then it's part fake, part real, but it also extends the beauty of that plant for a long time. And there are some orchids that are so realistic, you would never know that they weren't alive and growing. So that's kind of what I do. Once they just start looking a lot less than their best, I have some friends who do have greenhouses. Okay, now listen. So this is so funny. Stuart is trying to be so careful about how he steps because all my old floors just really, really squeak. And it's, there's no sneaking out of the house. When you're a teenager or in junior high and you're trying to sneak out of the house or back into the house at night, there's none of that because the floors just squeak way too much, and they will give you away every time. So there is that. Stuart, I know we will be asked again, so let's put this link. This is a long, narrow console table. It comes in 3 different finishes. I got this off of Amazon, and it was only like $130. So many of you asked me about it, so we'll try to put the link again. And the desk, I sound like a broken record because I've said this before. The desk belonged to my grandfather. And then, I did want to show you this. So this is my bedroom is divided from my office with French doors, and I did have beveled glass put in these French doors because I love the way it looks. And I've always thought that this would be a brilliant setup. I don't know why I didn't do it when we first moved in, when my boys were little, because it seemed so obvious to me, and I don't know why I didn't do it. I think I was kind of talked out of it because I wasn't confident enough in my own design decision making then. I was just trying to learn how to be a mother. But this would be a brilliant setup if you have a baby, because I've always thought this would make a wonderful, wonderful nursery, and then you would have the master bedroom right attached to it. And I've always thought that would be a brilliant setup. But I like this setup too. But here I wanted to show you this, because this is one of my plant towers. I think I alluded to it the other day, off of QVC. They're back in stock. Hopefully they're still available. I'm not sure. We will check, but I'll put a link. But then I just had an extra piece of round marble that my husband found in an old showroom of his, and so it just makes a wonderful little side table and portable, so I can move it from here to there or inside to outside in the garden. Okay, so this will be kind of quick because you probably aren't that interested, but it used to be that this office here stopped back here against this wall. And I had a tiny, tiny little closet, which is now my accessories closet, and that was the closet that belonged to this bedroom. There was a really long, narrow, very inaccessible closet. So after we lived here for about, I don't know, 20 years, we finally redid the master suite, and we bumped this wall out. I had wonderful craftsmen who were able to replicate the coved rounded ceiling that was original to the house, and they were able to recreate that on this wall. And then, so usually this is shut off like this. So those of you who live in new houses might find some of these kind of old house quirks kind of interesting. So then this can be completely closed off. And when it's open, then it opens to my closet. And this is my closet. My husband closets and uses the bath down the hall, and I did clean it up just for you guys. This is where I have all my boots and everything, and you'll notice that I did take your suggestion and I got a little space heater for in here, because this is an exterior wall and it gets really cold in here. So at someone's suggestion, whoever it was, I appreciate it, I did get a tiny little space heater to put in here. And since I have rediscovered ironing, I now have my ironing board in here and my iron in here, and this is where all my garden boots and everything are. And yes, I have way too many clothes, but it's but a lot of them I have had since I was in my early 20s, and but they do cycle in and out, and most of them are thrifted. Okay, so there's that. And then right across from that, and this was designed by my husband and I. And then across from it, if you haven't already seen it, directly across from it is my accessories closet with the slot wall and all of my costume jewelry and everything. And some of you wanted to know if it was still neat, and yes, it kind of is still neat. I can still find stuff. So that was one of my winter projects. And then I'm sure have no interest in my bathroom, but this is my postage stamp of a bathroom, not one of those great big jacuzzi filled bathrooms that some of you might have. It's very, very tiny, but it's mine and I love it, and it got an update. So there you go. Okay, so that's the master suite. So this, I'm going to be very respectful of my husband, because he let's just say he likes to live in a carefree kind of way, and he's not quite as neat as I am, and which is one of the reasons he's at the end of the hallway. He can live his life his way. We can sleep together, and then I can live my life my way in the master suite. That'd be another question. Let me know how many of you guys do that. So this is just a long, narrow hall with these interesting kind of openings. I can definitely see these need to be dusted. This is an area I don't come down to this end of the hall very often, quite frankly. This is one of these. This is probably kind of dark. I'm sorry for that. But this is one of these old house features. This is where the telephones used to be. And then there was just a little cabinet down here, and that was where you kept your phone book and things like that. And also, I believe somehow the doorbell was connected to this, so you could hear the doorbell through this. I'm not really sure on that. This is my husband's office. It's where all his closet is. It's where all of his clothing is. It's where he does some of his business. La 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 la. And that's his spot, and I will respect not showing it. This is his bathroom, and I will respect not showing it. It is still pretty much original to the house with the original tile and everything. And this room is also kind of a work in progress. I can see that Hubs has been in here. This is our guest bedroom, and it's in a little bit of a state of turmoil because my son Johnny was home over the holidays, and we're still kind of going through a lot of his books and things like that. So there's tubs of books around here. Let me straighten this because this bothers me. This relates back to a question I had. Do you guys sit on the bed after you make it? And I don't, but Hubs does. So there, now I've got straight cushions. I do love these old Madeleine quilts and things. It's kind of one of my signature things that I like to have in my home. This is probably my only real major concession, I guess, to femininity is this pretty Villeroy Bach wallpaper. And when we moved into the house 32 years ago, and we did some work when we first moved in. I selected this wallpaper, and I really do still love it. And it's kind of dark in here right now, but this room gets absolutely beautiful, beautiful morning light. And there's a couple of small closets in here, and another piece of wicker. You guys know I love wicker furniture. I had a piece of beveled glass made for the top. And this, by the way, is from Dulles Glass and Mirror. And this is kind of interesting because both this company, Dulles Glass and Mirror, and also the slipcover company, Needles and Shears, they both contacted me recently saying that some of you have contacted them about ordering some things. So I can highly recommend them. They do great work at a great price point, even if you're having to ship it in. So that's pretty much it. There's another closet here that right now is mostly stocked with my children's books and things that they had in their nursery. This used to be the nursery when they were wee ones. So that's pretty much it. Stuart, have I forgotten anything? But that's how it fits together. Some of you may ask how large my house is, and my house is about 2,900 square feet. There is a basement downstairs, which you guys have seen, which is where I work out. And then obviously there's a detached studio outside, which you have seen before, where we shoot lots of QVC things and some of my projects. But that's how things fit together. I'll show you one last thing, because it relates to all of the wicker that was downstairs. And Stuart, we might put a link to the video where I talked about how things fit together downstairs. This is another piece of that beautiful wicker that is painted, that color inspired by something that I saw in a Martha Stewart magazine that reads Almost Green. And then I've got a couple of house plants here. So there you go, you guys. That is how it fits together, the upstairs version. Let me know what you think, and make sure to answer my question of the day in the comments below. And make sure you read one another's comments, because you guys are a lot smarter than me and you come up with suggestions that are just brilliant. So there you go. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Well, here we go. Here's my fashion epilogue for today. But first, I have a question for you. You guys know that I get lots of my clothing secondhand or thrifted, and I'm curious as to whether or not you do the same. I'm also curious if you have started to do that, because you may have been inspired by some of these fashion epilogues that you've seen. You might now be trying Poshmark or something like that. So I'm kind of curious what your fashion buying habits are. So today, these earrings I've had for a long time. I think they came from like Ulta or someplace like that. They're lightweight, so I really like them. My top is a brand I'm kind of infatuated with right now called All Saints, and it's a pretty expensive brand. I got it off of Poshmark, and I really, really like it. I like the way their clothing fits on me. My little sweater is Banana Republic. I got this at Goodwill. My breeches, I think I have showed you before. These are Ann Taylor Loft, and I got these thrifted. My belt is from Nordstrom Rack, and my booties are from Land's End. And I think there you go. Have I forgotten anything, Stuart? I don't think so. So there you go. There's my fashion epilogue for today.